Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Danger Knock podcast. I'm your host, AcroNM, and today we're going to be doing a movie review of Joker 2. I don't know how to say the French version of it. All I know is I did not prepare for this podcast. I have no notes, and that's all this movie deserves from me because it feels like they didn't prepare either. So let's get to it.
That is one big pile of shit.
All right, so where do I even begin? Sometimes movies are so universally renowned as bad that you have to go see it just to see what everyone's talking about. Like if this movie was just mid, I may not have gone to see it. But so many people have told me how bad this movie was that I got excited to see it. That's where we're at right now. And I had to kind of determine like what would make a vast majority of people feel this way, because usually movies are like polarizing, but this one seemed like from everybody I talked to had seen it prior to me seeing it, which is surprising because I normally see these kind of movies like opening weekend. But I had already knew that when this movie was released, or even when the trailer was released, it was going to be dog shit. Lo and behold, I was right. How dog shit, though, was the question. And for me, that question has been answered. Diarrhea dog shit. And it's bad in a way that's different than other movies. It's not the worst movie ever made. Congrats. It's not even the worst comic book movie ever made, I would say. But what I would say is it's probably the most damaging to comic book culture as a whole. And for me personally, the worst superhero movie I've ever seen, and probably the worst movie I've ever seen ever, is the Fantastic Four movie with Michael B. Jordan. And I hate to say that that's how I refer to the movie as, since I love Michael B. Jordan. He's a great actor. But unfortunately, he's associated to that piece of shit movie. That movie is horrendous. Maybe I'll do a breakdown of that one day just to show you kind of everything that could go wrong in a superhero movie. This movie's... It's so hard to explain why, like, because on a technical basis of like cinematography, I think cinematography and half the acting was decent in this movie. And that's about it. I think the one good thing about this movie is that Tim Dillon is in it. And when I saw him, that was like literally the only time I smiled throughout the whole movie. I was literally frowning. And I guess I'll get into it. Listen, I don't even care about spoilers for this because you shouldn't watch this. You shouldn't be spoiled. Not watching this would make you spoiled. If that makes sense. That doesn't make sense after I thought about it. Don't watch this movie. And the thing is that this movie completely undoes everything that happens in the previous movie. So how this movie starts off is Arthur Fleck, aka the Joker, is in jail. And he's just like a shell of himself, like a broken man, which I mean, was predominantly what he was throughout the first movie, but he had a character arc that led to him becoming the Joker at the end of the first movie. And at the end of the first, listen, I have stuff to say about the first movie, even how it's kind of overrated. It's a good movie. It's good. Great. Maybe. Who knows? It had $1 billion in the box office. That's pretty great. It had a huge cultural impact. That's pretty great. Maybe as a comic book fan, I expect more from a movie called The Joker to actually be about the Joker. But I was like, oh, origin story. Okay. At the end, he becomes the Joker, and he's the Joker for like 4.5 minutes. Fine, so be it. Listen, in a world of so many comic book movies, we're just blessed to have it. Then they announced that there's going to be a sequel. And I'm like, oh, okay. They got to that point where he's Joker. Now it's going to be a movie about Joker where he does Joker-like activities. Joker-like activities did not ensue. In fact, anti-Joker-like activities ensued. To the point where even the guards at Arkham were trying to get a joke out of him, and that was very difficult to do. The biggest joke in this whole movie is that this movie was made. That was a bar. And strategically, this movie really shouldn't have been made because everything that they wanted to say essentially got consolidated in that first movie. Apart from that, they would have to be going down a different direction. So now let's get into like the synopsis or the plot of the second movie. Actually, no, let's rewind that. So throughout the whole first movie, Arthur was getting beat up and like kicked down by society and the people within it. And he clearly had some sort of mental issues and family issues and just trauma and all of that, culminating into him breaking as a human being and turning into what is the Joker, which Joker is his mythos revolves around having like one bad day. Obviously, it's not a singular one bad day in this case. It was a multiple bad life, but that's the point where like he had a switch that got turned. Joker's origin story usually always involves a switch being turned, and that's if he's given an origin story at all. I personally like a Joker that doesn't really have an origin story and is just like a creature, like a agent, like how he says, an agent of chaos, a force of nature, of just like where the hell did he come from? He just exists. And that's a good foil to Batman, right? Where we learn everything about him from a child to where he is now as an adult. And what led him to become who he is as the Batman. But okay, they're making a whole movie. You have to have an origin story. You have to have whatever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fine. That first movie encompassed very little actual Joker stuff, but it was a good movie in the sense of like the story, and it gets to at the end where he becomes what the movie is about. And a lot of people, and there's like a huge community of like people who associate themselves with the Joker, which is like should not be the case. Like you should not associate yourself with like someone who's freaking homicidal psychopath. But hey. Oh, and then half the movie he was like had a fake girlfriend, and he's like, oh no, this is why I'm even more in the right of like killing everybody, because my fake girlfriend wasn't my real girlfriend. What? Why are you blaming her? What the fuck? Anyways. He does all of that. He snaps as a human being. He shoots a television host live on TV and just fully embraces this Joker persona, right? And now we're like, okay, great. We got Joker going now. Now, at the start of the second movie, I would have assumed that we would pick up where that movie left off, where he literally killed like a social worker and walked out the prison with like bloody feet, happily, whatever. And that was the end of the first movie. So like, okay, full on Joker, he's locked in now. Second movie, he's just literally a broken man, and it basically starts off similarly to how the last movie started, where he's just like a shell of a human being, like a broken person, and his like laughing syndrome or whatever just comes out every now and then. And in this movie, it comes out way less. Like he's barely ever laughing, even just randomly when he gets, I guess, stressed, as opposed to other movies where he's doing it like mostly all the time. And then I find it hard to even remember, and this is not to say that like, oh, my memory's cooked, because it is sometimes cooked, but I've been off of social media or the main social medias for like 2.5 weeks. And so I'm like restructuring my brain to not be brain rotted. And even I, now with my ascended brain, find it hard to remember any key aspects of this movie that happened in like the first half of the film. He's literally just getting freaking tortured the whole movie. That's it. This movie is him being tortured the entire movie in a prison, meeting a psychopath who's not really a psychopath, who's just a fan of him, aka in this case Harley Quinn, and then just breaks into song and dance at every waking moment. To honestly, now here's where my gripes really start. You make a Joker movie that doesn't have Joker in it already. Already I'm pissed. And now you're making it a musical. And it is not even in the sense that it is a musical in and of itself that makes me angry. It's the fact that I know in my heart of hearts that they made this a musical so that they could fill airtime. They like to say that, I'm doing like Donald Trump hands. What is this shit? They like to say that each of the songs is pivotal in understanding Arthur Fleck as a character or any of the characters. But you don't really learn anything much more about him. He's been tortured and he's been sad. In the first movie, the entire first movie, he's getting beat up and sad that no one understands him. The second movie, it's even more of that, and probably even more diabolical. Like at this point, he's not even doing anything. He's already in prison. And Harley comes in and is like, no, you the shit, I'm a fan. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. Someone likes me. And then that's like the entirety of the movie, that he gets happy that someone likes him. And he's waiting to be on trial or whatever. And even within this movie, he was only Joker for like 3 minutes in a court scene. And then immediately after that, he was like, actually, never mind. That's not me. I'm not really like that. I'm just a guy with like mental issues, which he is. And then a lot of people were talking about, oh, this movie, the second movie, Joker, Folie, Deux, is supposed to shit on, I can't even say it. It's supposed to shit on the people who are fans of the first movie. Hey, buddy, Todd Phillips, why'd you make it then? What message were you trying to convey in the first one that you were so ashamed of that you made the movie again, but worse, with no pivotal ending point other than him getting cracked? So you should hate yourself because you made the movie. Everything in the second movie undoes what was done in the first movie, the movie that made $1 billion, which, granted, listen, is a great movie. Good, great, whatever. But at least stick with the guns that you were trying to do with the first one and continue that story, as opposed to undoing everything, starting from scratch, and then doing it worse the second time. I can understand if if Todd Phillips was like, I'm going to use a second movie to unravel Joker as a character and bring him back down to a shell of a man. But at least do it via him being on top of his like Joker A game, being the what is it called? The crown. What was it called? The clown prince of crime or whatever. Clown prince of crime, whatever we call himself. Where he's doing chaos, he's doing like shenanigans, tomfoolery, murder, perchance, and then unravel him as a character, and then bring him back down, and then that's how you end the second freaking duology. He just starts him off like he's like the last movie never even happened, as if he just got arrested just randomly, and then oh man, I don't even like. I'm so discombobulated about what this movie was even trying to do. It has no purpose, and it was literally like kind of just like torture corn for no reason. They literally like he denounced as he was the Joker, he like made fun of the guards that he was in the prison with, who as a mental asylum like COs or whatever workers or whatever they are would probably have dealt with a lot worse than Joker calling one of them fat. They literally rape him. For what? I'm not even saying for what, as if there's even a reason to do that. And nothing comes of it. It doesn't add to the story. It doesn't increase something that where he breaks again and becomes Joker again. He goes back to being who he was prior to that anyways. So you just did that for no reason. And it was just weird. Like, what in your mind made you like, that's in a story that's already about nothing? Let me add a traumatic something that adds also nothing to the story. That's just, now you're being weird. And they showed no inclinations of being like that in any other previous part of the movie. They were like weird and being mean and like being abusive to him verbally and I guess sometimes smacking him on the back of the head, which was like not right. I mean, this guy killed 6 people. I mean, he could get hit in the head. I mean, hey, you know? But a lot of people's criticism of the first movie is that people feel like they related to the Joker and feel bad for him. And then they say this movie makes fun of those people who attributed themselves to the Joker. But if anything, it only makes you feel more bad for him. And then more like, hey, that's fucked up. He's not really that bad of a guy. He's a villain. Or supposed to be. He's not supposed to be a good guy. And obviously there's like traumatic origin stories or whatever, but that was done in the first movie. And then he got to this point of being bad. And now you're just like torturing him. It's like a whole movie of torture, psychological and physical of the second one. And with nothing that comes of it. Because he doesn't even become the Joker. He's like the Joker for like 3 minutes in the courtroom with whatever that Harvey Dent was, like freaking Gen Z Harvey Dent. And it's like, there was like no purpose to it. And what makes me the most mad is that if you're going to have 2 movies about a character and only have him be in that character for like a grand total of, I'm being generous, 8 minutes across 2 movies, which is basically like 4 to 5 hours, you're just hijacking the intellectual property from the people who made these characters famous in the first place. All the comic book creators, all the previous movie directors who've utilized the Joker and made him an icon that he is today as a villain. You're just like, hey, this is a free payday. I don't have to think nor care about anything about what this character is or has been that's got it to this point that's allowing you to make the money off of it. And the people who've put a lot of their creative and artistic effort into creating these kind of intricate and unique like villains and heroes and characters. And you're like, not for me. But I will take that name though. And I will make $1 billion. And I will not give a fuck about anything that the character provides. And then I'm going to talk down upon the comic book medium, which is a common thing for some reason in even Marvel and DC for comic book movie directors or creators, or even, listen, I'll give actors a pass since they're just trying to get a check and do what they need to do. But the people who are making the story should have some kind of care or involvement in the mythology of these characters, but they don't, and they talk down on it. They're like, yeah, it's a comic book movie, but we don't want to look at the comics, or we don't want to. It's not your typical comic book movie. Like, listen, I'm all for, you're gonna break the mold, make a different characterization of a character and make it your own. Hey, listen, there's a million different versions of Joker in like the comic books, fine. But there's usually a common thread that goes throughout. And if there is something so drastically different, it's like such a like off thing and niche, whatever, that's like a one-off, which is I guess what these movies are trying to be. But when you're like headlining a studio for DC or Warner Brothers or whatever, and you're frontlining one of the most iconic characters ever, basically, and you're gonna choose that time to make your one-off little like bullshit stupid thing, then you're just hijacking that character and then preventing someone else from doing it properly, and giving the people who are a fan of the medium something to actually enjoy, and then talking down on them on top of it and making them feel like they're stupid for wanting that. It's like they made a Voldemort movie and they're like, oh, it's a musical, by the way. Why? These Harry Potter fans or whatever would not let that happen. I mean, I guess they would. They let a lot of other things happen. But actually, I don't know. Those Harry Potter fans, they go hard. Even against the creator of the thing that they like, which, hey, I respect it, I guess. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, they talk down on the people who are fans of these characters as if they're above them when they're the ones making $1 billion off of the popularity and what's the word for like icon level of these characters. And so this is like the crux of what makes me the most mad about this movie is not even necessarily the movie itself, is the audacity of the team creating it. To think that, okay, it's already not going to be Joker. It's going to be a musical, which since when was Joker ever associated with music? You're just trying to fill in time. And they use it as a way that it's like false advertising in the trailers. They try to make it like seem like it's not a musical, first of all, and they try to then not even double down. They try to say, oh, it's not. Verbally, like verbatim, they were saying it's not a musical when it basically is. And so they're not even doubling down on that. So now they're even further disrespecting us. And then on top of that, they're like, okay, everything that's Joker related is in a musical dream sequence. So almost none of it is actual in movie or in real life situation happening. It's just, oh fuck. We made a Joker movie. Fuck. Our story has nothing to do with Joker, actually. What do we do? Give this guy dream sequences of him singing as being the Joker. That'll suffice. That'll keep him off our back. Well, it didn't. And so ultimately, I don't even know how long this is going to be. I'm literally like, I'm pissed of the movie existing more than what's going on in and of the movie itself. And then they try to say that, or they try to like insinuate at the very end that the Joker gets killed by another guy who ultimately is like a real Joker who is laughing or whatever and is murderous, and he even like cuts his mouth open with a knife after killing Arthur Fleck, which, I mean, damn. This guy got tortured for the whole movie and then just gets killed and didn't really do much else other than that. apart from being tortured and killed and being gaslit by Harley Quinn or manipulated or whatever. Didn't really push the story forward. They almost never, they're either in Arkham or in a courtroom arguing. He wasn't even arguing. Half the time he was agreeing with them. And then he escapes. And you think, oh, again, he's going to be Joker again. No. Harley just breaks up with him on the stairs. And then he's just sad. And he goes back to jail. And they get stabbed. What are we doing here? All right, some good things about the movie. Never mind, this movie sucks. I'm trying to even think about, like, I mean, Lady Gaga, she can sing her ass off, for sure. A good Harley Quinn? Well, she wasn't even crazy. She just, like, admitted herself into Arkham. And they give you a little, oh, she has a master's in psychology or something. Or she was trying to be a psychiatrist. As a little, oh, hey, here, comic book fans, here's a fucking bone. Get the fuck off my fucking lawn, I guess. I don't know. Like, we're some fucking idiot. Like, oh, thank you for the little Easter egg. I was going to mix this in with what the future of the DCU is going to look like, which I am very excited for, but I can't do that. I can't have this taint that. That will be a separate video. And also, I didn't prepare for that. So we'll see when that comes out. Very excited for what James Gunn, a person who actually seems to care about the medium, but still unique enough to tell his own stories, is taking the helm. And there's not going to be any more of this fucking stupid Joker shit where people can just take an intellectual property and just shove it up their ass, shit it back out, and be like, hey, art. And there's a lot of people, surprisingly, like, when I was looking online, who liked the movie because it shat on the previous movie. Since when was a movie good because it made another movie bad? And this movie was so bad that it made the other movie retroactively. You can make fun of the like the people who like that movie, I guess, or whatever, so that it makes this good. I mean, you could find it funny. That's the case, but that doesn't necessarily make the film good or make the film serve any real purpose. And there were people are saying like, "Oh, this movie puts Joker 2 puts Joker 1 on trial." Hey, how about whoever made this movie should be put on trial for money laundering? Because why was this movie like a freaking hundreds of millions of dollars? They didn't even do shit. It was all within Arkham or the penitentiary, and then they blew up one wall and they ran outside. Oh, and then they had like dream sequence, like late night TV dance shows. They do that every night at freaking late night shows. The good thing about this movie is that they killed him at the end so that they're not going to do this again. And I feel bad for Joaquin Phoenix. This dude got freaking emaciated to play this fucking role. And they're like, go dance and sing, buddy. Why? Just because? James Gunn, if you can hear me. James Gunn, please save us. I said that I would never watch Thor: Love and Thunder again, but I would watch that movie 10 times before I see this movie again. I don't even know what else to say. People were telling me how bad it was. And I think, honestly, I dislike it for different reasons than why they dislike it. They're like, oh, it was a musical and it was dumb, which it was. But for me, I just can't seem to shake how I feel like disrespected as a fan or an audience member of this genre or of these characters. But yeah, I doubt they're gonna give Todd Phillips any comic book IP after this. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I'm missing. I didn't even take notes because they don't deserve notes from me. Warner Brothers. When I catch you, Warner Brothers. Let's see. What else happened? Okay, we'll talk about Harley Quinn for a little bit. Does nothing almost, other than like convincing Joker that he's the shit, and he kind of starts believing it. And then they try to recreate like his dancing scene, which it didn't hit because now they're grasping at straws, trying to emulate the movie they're actively trying to undo. But then they're like, fuck, this movie has no sauce. All the sauce was in the last movie, and we just shat on it for the first hour and 25 minutes. What are we going to do? Oh, yeah, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have courtrooms sessions where they're going to be like, hey, remember what you did in the last movie? That was like crazy, right? Yeah. How about you do something different this time? After you realize you didn't do shit the whole movie. They just brought the old characters, put them back on the, what is it called? What's it called? When they're in the courtroom to the stand. They brought Zazie Beetz back. They brought the little person, I forgot his name, back. Just to say what Joker did in the first one was fucked up. Yeah, no shit. We saw the movie. And then Joker, the whole movie, the Joker's like, damn, low key. It was kind of fucked up, not gonna lie. Then gets stabbed to death. Like, some people are like, oh, did that really happen? Was it all a dream sequence? If you're having all these dream sequence things as a cop out to not have any real story or answers to anything, then hey, buddy, don't make movies. If you're too afraid to actually make a coherent plot or in a character's arc that makes any semblance of sense. Let me just look up what Folie means. How about that? Oh, okay. So I don't know how to even pronounce this. Okay, so folie à deux is a delusion or mental illness shared by two people in close association. But that's not even the case. Harley just admitted herself into that, trying to trick him into believing something that he already kind of believed, or maybe he never even believed that he was the Joker. I mean, I don't even say maybe that was the case. So at no point, at a grand total of maybe 4 or 5 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes, over the course of 4.5 hours, 5 hours maybe, did Joker actually be Joker? If that's not disrespect, then I don't know what is. What's the point? Just make your own movie. People already said that the first one was a ripoff of Taxi Cab anyways. I haven't seen it, but I believe it. Where are we at? This is going to be a short episode? Maybe. But for example, here, Heath Ledger Joker is different than a prototypical comic book Joker where Joker's clean cut, whatever, in a suit. He's in a suit in the Dark Knight movies anyways. But a unique take on the character that actually represents the character itself. And maybe it's hard to top that. Maybe it's hard to make a unique version of Joker again that can compete with something like that. I mean, Jared Leto couldn't do it. Clearly, this movie not only couldn't do it, didn't want to do it. So why do it? You should watch Tim Dillon's episode of his podcast where he basically breaks down in like the first like 17 minutes how much this movie sucks, and he was a part of it, and he knew, him and his co-stars knew how bad the movie was as it was being made. They were like watching things happen like, What? Why is that happening again? I don't get it. And they're making the movie. I don't know what to tell you. I'm honestly like, I left kind of like speechless in a bad way. And like I said, I've said this multiple times in this podcast. It's less of like the actual movie that's making me mad because it's still not good. But it's just the mentality they had going into making it and deciding that this was the strategy that they were going to go with. And to then lie about half the movie that like Joker's not even really actually Joker in this movie. And that they're like, oh, it's not actually a musical when it actually was. And it served no purpose, first of all, the singing. Like, oh, it gives you like an inner view of his mind. Hey, buddy, we already know. The dude's screws are loose. Let's get into something that is a repercussion of these screws being loose. Or something that affects his environment. His screws are being loose in his head, and then he goes back to being like just a sullen version of himself and getting his ass beat and getting freaking as they say, graped. Anything come of it? No. Was he actually Joker? No. Was Harley Quinn actually Harley Quinn? No. She was doing freaking makeup tutorials half the movie and trying to gaslight him. And first of all, why are they even allowed to be sitting in the courtroom? These people are literally, this girl is like buddy with this dude who killed like 6-7 people, including his own mother, as he admits. And they're like, you know what? You could be front and center and rile this dude up, let him while out. And then this judge, the most caring judge of all time, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to let you make a circus of this courtroom, but I'll let you dress up as the Joker. How is that not contempt of court? This dude could just say whatever he wants. He wasn't even advocating for himself. He was just being weird. And then they were trying to be like, oh, he's just crazy. Hey, yeah. But then also they were like, well, what actually kind of crazy? Because he's not schizophrenic necessarily, I guess. I mean, maybe he is. They didn't even talk about that really. They're just saying he has mental issues. And then he was like, they're trying to say, oh no, he is. Or I guess they were trying to say he had this dissociative identity disorder, that like Joker was a different person and Arthur Fleck was a different person. But that ultimately ends up not being necessarily the case because he rejects that notion himself. It's not like Joker takes over in his brain. He actively puts on the Joker persona to accomplish something. And then when that fails, he's like, fuck, my bad. Yeah, no, that's not really me. So then we shouldn't feel bad then. He doesn't have a mental disorder if that's the case. Or in that capacity. He may have a bunch of other mental disorders and a lot of trauma and PTSD. But there's no inclination that this Joker personality comes out whenever. He just regrets doing that. It's like he's cringing at the fact that he's made those choices to do Joker stuff. I mean, he lost his mind in those moments and he cracked and he had a mental breakdown. And he tried to recreate that in the courtroom this time and he's like, oh, I'm not feeling it. It's not hitting no more. And then the other person at the end who kills him is like the real Joker. God, if they try to make a movie about that guy at the very end, we riot. That's it. This movie turns everybody into the Joker. Just everybody loses their minds. Man. Stay tuned for the next episode of the DC Universe review. What else is about this movie? Let me look up what people are saying online. Or I'll check like Letterboxd. Also, based off of, like just what a letterbox review reminded me of. Hey, buddy, smoking cigarettes looks cool. Okay, you're just gonna do that for the whole 2.5 hours? Literally just filling in time. This whole movie was trying to fill in time. That's it. Like, fuck, this movie is so stupid. They knew it. And they were like, how do we fill time? Okay, smoking takes probably 40 minutes out of this whole movie, singing another hour, and that's an hour 40. And then you need another hour on top of that where maybe he's getting tortured. Or they're singing. Or I guess I already said singing. And then you know what? We don't know what to do actually at the end since we didn't really make a movie. So just stab him in the hallway. Right? Anyways, maybe I'll talk a little bit more about it. Um Actually no. I'm missing something. I Oh, he spends a whole song saying I'm the Joker for a movie where he's never really actually the Joker. They're just rubbing it in at that point. I'm the Joker, baby.
Wanna know how I got these scars? Well, I'm the Joker, baby.
Like people are like, oh, a positive review for the Joker on Letterboxd. A sequel that hates its own cringy fan base. That's what movies are about. I don't even need to expand upon that. And then people in the comments, the online discourse from those fans of the original are going to be hilarious. The only reason you get to even make any money off of this movie is because of those people who paid for the first movie. Anyways, and listen, I'm not over here to support the freaking incel Joker fan base. They're weird. I get it. Those people probably either don't even like comic books or whatever. They're just like want to associate themselves with a dude who commits murder because people were mean to him throughout his life. That's weird. And if you want to deconstruct that in this movie, that's a good idea. But actually deconstruct it. Don't have it start deconstructed, right? And then just shit on it even more. And then do the opposite of what you're trying to do by making him look like, oh, he's like a messed up individual that you should not emulate. But in fact, feel bad for him because of everything that happened and almost nullify him of the crimes that he did because you're freaking beating him up in prison and freaking raping him. In the eyes of the people watching, I guess. Because they're going to forget that he just like killed all those people. I mean, I guess the dudes in the train was like self-defense. And like his mom too was kind of like. But he shot like Murray on live TV. Like, what are they even arguing here? Let me see what else people are saying. I'm going to log off. And I love how they're calling the fans of the original cringe. But this movie, a musical, not cringe. And then there's a comment here. Why are people willingly going to watch a musical if they plan to snort and complain every time a song starts? Why are you willingly making a Joker movie if you're going to snort and complain every time someone requests having the Joker in it? Uno reverse, motherfuckers. What else? This is actually good. It's jogging my memory about what even happened in this movie. Another comment. More films should be designed to purely piss off fanboys like this one clearly is. Why are you making this movie? If you don't like anything about the character or the people who like the character, why are you making this movie? Someone said, I'd rather fall into a vat of acid than have to watch this movie again. An actual comic book reference, something the movie couldn't really do. I'm not sure there's anything else that I could say that needs to be said. And obviously, hey, it's just a movie, like just relax. But the only solace I have in this movie is that this leadership of DC movies is just like out the window, and under James Gunn and James Gunn we trust, they're not going to be having this dumb shit happening. So this is the last Band-Aid that needed to be ripped off. To just, if anything, I'm happy that this movie, you know what? I'm happy this movie sucks because it only solidifies how bad this Warner Brothers regime and what DC Studios has been up until now, just doing dumb shit, whatever the fuck they wanted to do. And now from here on out, it's only going to be peak. It's only going to be fire flames. Marvel's going to need to figure this shit out. They're already a mess. I already talked about that fucking the last video. I mean, some of the shit's coming out. It looks kind of heat though. Agatha, surprisingly, not that bad. I was shitting on it in the last one. Who knows? But okay, we'll talk about that later. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. And stay tuned. Oh, also, I started a second channel for like everything that's not podcast related. It's just called AcroNM. If you want to go look it up, I have one video on there. It's just a gameplay video of Black Myth Wukong. But on that channel, I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff. Like my next one's going to be an unboxing video. I'll do like vlogs and gaming and stuff like that on there. Just anything that's not Danger Knock. But I'd appreciate it if you go give this a like and a follow if you haven't. And then go give the AcroNM channel a like and a follow if you haven't. If you so choose. Anyways, have a good one. Peace.